You Big 12 and on bunch of weirdos. You're just delusional. No Pac-12 team will ever join the Big 12.
Who the fuck is that guy? Let's go!
Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Folks, we are still here talking quite a bit about the impending move of Colorado, the University of Colorado, back to the Big 12 Conference. You know, a lot of us guys have been saying this quite a bit. Somehow, we were just a bunch of weirdos, Big 12 Anons. I'm going to bring on one of those Big 12 Anon guys right now, and we're going to talk about just how right we were. Welcome to the show, Mr. Cody Stovall, Locked On Oklahoma State. How you doing tonight, Cody?
I mean, I am good, and hopefully that my wife watches this episode because she says I'm not right all that often. This is my time to say I disagree, honey boo boo. I disagree.
Yeah, well, I'm not disagreeing with the wife because I don't know that you are right all that often. But on this one, you were. On this one, you were. We both were. Hey, look at that beard,
What's
folks.
they say? Hey,
gentlemen.
a dog shines on a dog's ass every once in a while, I guess.
Yeah, listen, you know, it happens. It happens. Welcome, everybody, back to the show. The old truck stop conference is back in the house.
Yes.
Locked On Oklahoma State. OU is still a part of that conference for now, so we will continue to talk about this. Cody, what was your reaction whenever you started hearing all this stuff the other day?
Bro, I mean, obviously excitement, of course. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But to be honest with you, like, we've been talking about this being an inevitability for so long. It was hard to get like insanely propped up. Like, I'd already expected this a while ago. And I also expect Arizona to follow suit. Now, anything outside of that, sure. Excitement galore, could, you know, everything you could physically possibly think of. Because, I mean, the fact that Oregon is in play now, as opposed to somebody maybe even like a Utah, you know, Utah's having conversations, as is Arizona, as is Oregon. I haven't heard about Washington and Arizona State, but I would assume if the others are, so are they. At least it's conversational. But yeah, right. Man, it's exciting. It's fun. I think it's good for Colorado. It's obviously good for the conference. It's good for that structure, that security that everybody's looking for, that we can touch on a little bit as well, that we know the ACC is in a rough spot right now with Florida State. Sure. So the dominoes have just started to fall. Colorado's the first one of it, and I love it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And folks, while you're here and before we get too far into this talk, we are once again, we now have channel memberships available to everybody. Make sure if you're not already a channel member, I don't know what you're waiting on, because there are going to be tons of that's going to be members only stuff. We have our Discord that you could get in there. We'll be talking a bunch of that kind of stuff in there. You might even get old Cody in there every once in a while to give him a hard time about Okie Light. You know, and the Big 12 truck stop conference, and see kind of how this all goes. But this is huge for us as creators because of the fact that, you know, to me, you know, Cody, we were the ones that were out there fighting against the you know, this thought that you were going to end up seeing the Big 12 go away. And I think that there was a time that really could have happened, right?
Yeah.
You know, when Oklahoma and Texas made the decision to go to the SEC, it looked like, you know, Bob Bowlesby's well, how do I put this?
Ineffective decision-making?
Yeah, or lack of decision-making at all, kind of sitting on his hands, had really put the conference in a situation where they were about to go by the wayside. Before Yormark ever even came into the picture, Brett Yormark, the new commissioner of the Big 12, you actually had opportunities for the Pac-12 and George Kliavkoff to really finish off the Big 12. They had opportunities to get Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, and they turned their nose up at it. Then after Yormark, they turned their nose up at it again whenever he offered them an opportunity to merge the two conferences. All the while, never really taking shots at the Big Ten Conference, who had come in and poached USC, UCLA after, Kevin Warren had said that they wouldn't, that there would be no poaching, right? So even after all that, all these hand grenades were being actually lobbed at the Big 12 rather than vice versa. But that being said, oh, looky here, we've got a new member,
which was great because
Frank, thank you, Mr. Frank.
The horseshoes and the hand grenades of almost subjectivity should have been thrown the Big Ten's way, but whatever. Yeah. The Pac-12 thought it was swinging down at the Big 12, so Kliavkoff shot his shot. He just shot the wrong way. He shot himself in the face.
Yeah, and I think that Bomber brought this up the other night. Is who else were they going to take shots at? They didn't want to take shots at the Big Ten because obviously they're you've got Oregon, Washington trying to get in. So if you start taking shots as a conference there, that kind of hurts them. And I think they've been hurt anyway in their
at least Bob Bowlesby had the cojones to go after ESPN and say, hey, shut the shiz now, regardless of who's shaking the tree. If you have a part of it, let's just shut it down. And ESPN's like, oh, we don't have a hand in any of this. But as all of this starts to matriculate around the carousel of realignment once again, now ESPN and Fox definitely have a hand in it because, do they really feel bad if it gets to a mega 3? No, they don't. Their money's in the game. Their money's already in the game.
That's right. They own at least a part of all three of them. So with Fox and ESPN splitting, or there's a split. It's not a 50-50 split of the Big 12. ESPN owns the SEC in its entirety, and then Fox, along with some of its partners, own the Big 10. Yeah, I think that at this point now you are at the mercy of these networks. Not that you probably already weren't, but just talking about how did we get here? This is how we got here. I mean, we were talking about how George Kliavkoff and before him, the commissioner before, they were the continual missteps, one time after another. And they had opportunities to kind of shore up this conference a lot. I mean, it seemed like the Big 12 was on its deathbed a number of times, right?
Yeah.
And every time they decided against it. Now you can probably thank Texas for one of the times because that time that the Pac-12 was going to take in OSU, Oklahoma, Texas, maybe another one, Texas Tech, I believe, at that time. But the Texas, the Longhorn Network kind of killed that whole thing off. So, you can definitely thank Texas for keeping them alive at that point. After that, though, I mean, again, and Bob Bowlesby had opportunities to make this conference bigger for quite a while. I mean, it was vetted. These teams that have joined the league, BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF, they were vetted and ready to go years ago, right?
Dude, Bob Bowlesby thought that the SEC chanting SEC and having those signs after every bowl game, he thought it was childish. He thought it was juvenile and unnecessary. He was wrong. It didn't matter. It didn't matter how monotonous it become. If you kept hearing that dumb A chant over and over and over and over and over, and you saw those teams winning quite a daggone bit, it was always going to matter.
It was. And as I said, they then had their chance to really finish it off at that point. Once Oklahoma and Texas had made the decision to move, it looked like it was over with to me. And I think it did to a lot of people.
Do you see this comment? Do you think Oregon and Washington answer the Big 12's call? What? Are you serious? More like Oregon and Washington are calling the Big 12 like, oh, crap. Well, now that this position, because again, it's a domino trickle-down effect. If Florida State can find the money to get out of the ACC contract, or if they can come up with their next magnificent 8, whatever the hell you want to call it, if any of that can happen, then you guaranteed Oregon called Brett Yormark and said, well, hold on. Before you go crazy inviting Utah or Arizona or Arizona State, before you do all that, we're flipping Oregon, man. And I guarantee you, Brett Yormark's probably like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Let's sit down and talk. That's why they already had the meeting in Texas yesterday, 2 days ago. It's already happened.
I think that the call is being talked about now. I think that the biggest thing that you're finding out is that now it's going to be whether or not the Big Ten is going to make a call. And I'm sure that they've been making calls to them and they've been in contact. To me, I don't know that's really something that the Big Ten is ready to do. I know that Tony Petitti has been kind of tasked with getting the Big Ten's. They all got their own little financial issue going on with that media contract that they got to kind of work out. And I know that they've just been kind of waiting and to see kind of what was going to happen. Does the Colorado move? Does that would that classify as blood on the hands of Colorado, or would it because then that's when the Big Ten could maybe make that move. Remember they said a month or so ago that they didn't want the blood on their hands. Not that it isn't, but that perception that they could get that.
If the Big Ten's going to make a move and they were hiding behind their laurels of, well, we don't need to upset the apple cart, so we're not going to upset the final apple cart. Now that it's done, this is a perfect time to swoop in and say, hey, see, mean old Big 12 did you dirty again.
Listen, and I think it's pretty clear that a lot of these, even knowing that the ACC, and I got to tell you, I'm not positive about what's going on with that. I know FSU keeps thinking that they've got an opportunity to get away from the ACC. I think that that's years down the road myself. Everything that I continue to hear from Jim Williams and guys like JJ Kitchen, they continue to say that if that was an opportunity, they'd already be gone, right? Them and Clemson would probably be gone already if they could be. It's right now, it looks like it would cost them upwards of $700 million. And even if they're able to dissolve the conference by having a majority vote to dissolve the conference, you would still end up, you think ESPN is just going to go away from a good deal for them that's got 13 years left on it?
Hey, will you get the vice president of Big 12 Anon that just commented? Why is he not in this daggone thing here?
Who's that?
Greg.
Swaim? Is he here?
Yeah, bro. He's been all over this stuff too, buddy.
He's welcome to come in. I will copy. I will send that now, and we will bring him in if you'd like to come in. Greg?
Buddy, if you're not busy, go ahead and hop on in here. But yeah, man, even if the Florida State thing is just too tall into the weeds, the fact again that Florida State would even be potentially willing to make an agreement, let's say it is $500 million, right? Because they know good and daggone well that's what it would take. If the money's there, is it a preposterous number to think of? Yeah, it is.
$700 million is more than they can afford.
If it's possible, I guess. Yeah, I don't see how anybody could either. It would take a significant donor that's just like, hey, man. But, Boone Pickens cut a 365 check once, so it does happen. It can happen.
It couldn't happen. It just, all right. So, and possibly I could see that maybe happening. What I also could see, though, is that to me, there's no way that ESPN allows its own conference to be torpedoed when again, it owns it owns everything. So if there is a Power 4 now, because there is, why wouldn't they want to make that league stronger? Which they could do by grabbing up a couple of those schools. And I've even heard some stuff about West Virginia today. Kuz and them have been talking about that quite a bit. There's some stuff that there's a possibility that they could make some moves there and still keep the ACC alive. And I believe that ESPN would do everything they possibly could in order to do that, because of the fact that it is a network friendly deal. They are basically in for half of the profits on the ACC network. You're not just going to let that run away when it's good for them what they have to pay out, and they get half of the profits off of that deal. So again, I still feel like that's kind of a long shot. That being said, now, is it a long shot that the Big Ten, and Lori was asking this, what about Oregon? Is it a long shot that Oregon and Washington are going to go to the Big Ten right now? I kind of think that it is, because of the fact of what we just talked about with Petiti. I also feel like it's kind of been, if you listen to what Tim Fitzgerald said today, it doesn't seem like the Big Ten really is all that interested in Oregon.
Well, the Big Ten's already said
more interested in Washington, Stanford, maybe Cal, but not really Oregon. And we are going to have Fitz on my show here tomorrow, along with, I will have Nigel Smith II joining us tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We will, after we've done our interview with Nigel, we will be joined by Tim Fitzgerald and also David from David Talks CU. We'll be talking to him a little bit about how this all came about from that Colorado standpoint. And I know you had that conversation with the Locked On Colorado guy today. You guys got to get over there and check that out on Locked On Oklahoma State. It's a fabulous freaking show from today. I won't give it away to you, but you should go check that out. Yeah, I feel like Oregon may be a real possibility for the Big 12. And to not give away what Fitz was talking about, because I don't want to do that yet. I want to save that for tomorrow. But I think there's some stuff that could happen that could make it pretty, how do I put this? I think it would make it pretty awesome for Phil Knight and for Oregon if they decided to make the move to the Big 12 rather than the Big 10. So, I mean, there's a lot of pretty cool stuff.
There's definitely some benefits. And I don't know if you saw Greg jumped on there and said that he can't get on because he's driving. And since Jason talks like a child all the time, he felt it unnecessary.
A child? Whatever do you mean? What does that mean? What did I say?
No, dude, I just made all that up. Greg said he was driving. He had kids in the car. Come on, man.
Cool. Yeah, we don't want kids in this because we're not talking kid stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
well, no Pac-12 fans jump in. We'll have to throw the kid gloves on a little bit because, they're the sensitive type.
I couldn't care less. That's where we want to go real quick before we go into all hail Brett Yormark. All hail.
Man, if he pulls off Oregon, as much as I hate the Oregon fan base, you got to give credit where credit's due. And it's a possibility. The conversations happen. And you also know that Brett Yormark is now coming from a place of a little bit of authority. We know the Pac-12's going to get the bullcrap money we've already been kind of talking about, right? We know that's going to happen. Or Colorado wouldn't be making this jump and news wouldn't be leaking the way that it is. But now he's at a position of authority, so he could legitimately have this conversation with Oregon like, listen, I know you want the Big Ten. We all know the Big Ten's not exactly ready to do it right now because it is what it is. But if you wait too long, there will not be a Big 12 opportunity. So if you're coming for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 6 years, it is what it is. You'll sign a contract and get on board while the getting is good. And if you want to jump to the Big 10 5 years from now, maybe that conversation could happen. Maybe. But nonetheless,
again, I don't even know that.
Brett Yormark's not going to wait forever because he doesn't have to.
He doesn't. And that's the whole thing is that right now you're looking at the team. The Big 12 definitely does have leverage in its hand. And so I was going to say something else. So let's put that on hold just for 1 second there, Cody. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Tony Altimore.
Rest in peace, Tony. Rest in peace.
I hope somebody's had an eye on him for the past couple of days. He seemed about ready to cut his wrist the other day, so I was a little concerned. And he continues to. Now he's on the attack instead of attacking the Big 12. He's been attacking the Pac-12 and its leadership the past couple of days. He ought to be attacking himself as well, because of the fact that this is a, and again, not to gloat too much. We are going to do it a little bit, though. You kind of just that much, right? You kind of have to, because look, we went on the show with Mark Rogers and it was after the Coos debate. Coos and Josh Neighbors went on there, and you kept hearing how all the academic money versus the that was going to keep it from ever changing, because it would screw up their AAU research dollars, blah blah blah. And you and I were saying that's the biggest bunch of that you could possibly come up with, right? And to me, I gotta say, we were right on that, and the reason we were right is because we weren't jumping to stupid conclusions. We were listening to people like Jim Williams. We were listening to people like Bob Thompson. We were listening to people that knew what was going on, rather than just and sources that we had within the schools ourselves, rather than just listening to BS coming out of a BS artist like Altamore.
Well, dude, and even like the conversations I was having with Greg back then, which is like, am I crazy? Right? No. If you read all the tea leaves, it just doesn't make sense that the Pac-12 is going to magically poop out a bunch of money all of a sudden. And you know what I mean? So it didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out back then, but it did take the Pac-12 media-ish machine, whatever you want to call it, to pump out all this Big 12 Anon stuff. And it made it magical to mess with Pac-12 fans this whole time. For months, it's made the trash talk so much fun. Because, dude, a lot of these people are like, oh, yeah, we'll be pulling receipts, and you'll feel like an idiot, and you'll sound dumb, and this and that and the other. But it's not just Tony. It's several people. There's people like Canzano and even the Monty to some degree. All these people had conversations telling you that everybody who talks about this, anybody who covers any of the Big 12, if they're having conversations about Colorado and Arizona and everybody else coming in, they're all ridiculous. They're all stupid. They all have nonsensical sources. And the whole time what I was saying, even on that Mark Rogers show, was maybe we are crazy, but one of us is going to end up being wrong, right? And when the whole thing is said and done, we're not the ones that spent 30 years developing our credibility just to purposely punch it in the throat over and over and over again.
Right. Because I don't think that I think that if you were asking us for an opinion, we were going to give you an opinion of what we saw happening based on what we were hearing, not based on just because we're looking down our nose or whatever. We hate this or we hate that about the Pac-12. It had nothing to do with that. Nope. It never has. We were literally talking to people. And if you know anything about universities and how they work, you knew that research dollars had jack shit to do with freaking television money from the athletic department. Nothing to do with it. So it was pretty simple to know that that was just a big smoke signal coming out of the Pac-12 rather than and out of its mouthpieces. And listen, I remember the day that we had Jim Williams on the show with us, and I asked him about the credibility of some of these folks. And what did he say? He said, look, it's going right out the window. The second that we know all of this, there's somebody's credibility is shot.
Yep.
And he got destroyed all the time on Twitter about that. And all he was doing was giving you information that was coming from real sources that he had built over a 40-year career in broadcasting that had netted him 7 Emmy Awards.
Well, and just like, we talked whenever people like Tony and John and all them, when they started attacking people like Jim, it's like, well, hold on, wait a second. Why is there this animosity being developed on purpose? Again, what I was saying then, and I stand by this, they knew more than they were letting on. They were purposely pumping this stuff to their quote unquote fan base, knowing they were filling the room full of nothing but hot air. They knew it. They knew it the whole time, or at least they had a pretty good indication. So they backed the wrong horse. And, it does happen. We're all going to be wrong at times, but there's a difference in being wrong and being so adamant that everybody else is crazy that you can't even see in
Well,
front of your own hot breath. That's
it's
what's
not even, yeah, it's not even that you're wrong. It's that you attacked other people that were getting real information from real places and tried to make them look like they were lying when you were the one lying about having any information at all. Because as I said, anybody who knows anything about universities and the way that they work knows that the athletic department and the academic side have zero to do with one another. They do not share funds whatsoever. You have donors that donate for the athletics and academics, and some do both, but that money is never shared, right? So that made it simple. So that entire debate as it was going on that we're seeing was just a joke, and we were laughing about it, right? And then you got guys like Larry Pilgrim that come in and attack us when we're on the show with, you've got, Altimore in there chirping from the comment section, and you've got Larry Pilgrim running his mouth at us on the show, taking cues from Altimore. I'm sorry, but I don't feel bad for none of you guys. I just don't.
Nope.
Let me ask you a question. Did Utah, and this is jumping ahead, did Utah fans and their administrators talk the school out of a Big 12 invitation back into to stay relevant as a Power 4 school, and now send them back to like G5 status, or well, I guess it'd be G6 at this point?
If Oregon joins, I would say likely. Yeah, I mean, it becomes a race, and I would say that Utah's probably behind. They're definitely behind Arizona in the race, and I would even argue that they're behind UConn, because I would imagine that this UConn thing's already a done deal. Whether people like it, love it, hate it, doesn't matter. And as I talked about earlier, with the Locked On Colorado guy Kevin Borba I had on my show earlier today, is if the ACC is in fact in trouble and the ACC has some limitations, well, recruits are going to know that as well. So I know UConn football is a laughing stock of an accreditation of an experience. I get that. But being solidified in the stabilization of a guaranteed all day, every day P5 will help UConn. It will. And basketball is not going anywhere. And this is already the best basketball conference. So it does make sense. Yeah. So I could, if Oregon jumps in, and then you got Arizona, and then you got UConn, that's that. That is what it is.
I agree. And I think at this point, all the stuff that's been going, and it continues to, you've had a lot, and it's not just coming from the fan base, and there's a crazy segment of that fan base that's out of freaking control. We've talked about that ad nauseum, right? But they've been emboldened by morons in the administration, athletic director, the president of the school, that have come out and just constantly said things like, we would rather stay in a Pac-12 that's half than go to the Big 12.
Yeah.
And they have this idea that they're going to get this Big 10 invite. That's never going to happen. You're starting to see, even if, let's say, the ACC somehow finds a way to get away from their grant of rights and all this other stuff, there's at least 10 schools that I could think of, at least 10 that would have to say hell no to the Big 10 before you would even look at Utah. At least that many, right? So it's a weird thing to me. It's a weird thing that you get that. But I feel like they absolutely may have done that. Hey, hold on real quick. I'm going to have to do something. Another one.
What are we doing?
We have a new subscriber. Thank you. We have 2 new subscribers to the channel. I wanted to appreciate and say thank you to all those guys before I went any further. All right. Sorry about that, Cody. But hey, new channel subscribers.
Kim's good people, so I'm tracking.
Hey, Kim is good people, man. So is Bishop Frank. Anybody who has become a member of, and even our regular subscribers, we have said it over and over again. We love you guys, and you're the best in the business. We appreciate it. So thank you so much. JC has also become one. I'm going to give a shout out to a few of them. JC Lamb became a channel member just recently as well. And then, hey, Lori, thank you so much. See what I mean? See about my audience, whether you're a subscriber or not, they're great. They're awesome. We've got a new subscriber here, Mountaineer Lair with Kenny. He's been a lot of fun as well. And then, of course, we've got
the professor.
The professor. He's my man, dude. Look, gotta love Scotty. And hey, man, all the people that have helped with this channel, you being one of them, Cody, I so appreciate it. You know, we did pass over 2,000 subscribers while we were at Big 12 Media Days. That was awesome for us. And now we're able to continue kind of doing what we're doing here. So, you know, it is what it is. Tim Pringley, another jackwagon. He is. You are correct about that.
Yeah. So real quick, I know Greg can fire away with his fingers. Greg, do you know, is Arizona State and Washington for sure part of this conversational pieces? Cody, get nostalgic and start a Bedlam chant in Stillwater.
Thank you so much, Professor. Yeah, hey, let us know what you think about that as well, Swain. Listen, I know that they're all, he said on here that they are speaking to him, right, today. I know that they've kind of been having meetings amongst themselves as well. So, look, that would be the next question. What do you think is the next domino to fall in this Pac-12? And is it on the verge of extinction here, Cody? Do you really feel like that they're on their way out? There's going to have to be something.
I mean, well, I see a couple more teams gone. It is what it is. Now, I do, as much shade as I like to throw, they're going to they'll survive, whether it's some semblance of grabbing a UNLV, San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, whatever it is, right? I don't want to say merger with Mountain West. I don't want to go quite that far in on the Pac-12 when it's already, you're kicking a dead horse, right? But I think it survives, right? It's still the Pac-12. Now, it'll be a G5. They'll be competing with the American. That'll be.
That's the question that I had too. How is it already a G5 now if nobody else leaves?
No, they still have Oregon.
But at 9?
Yeah. Oh, no, they'll bring somebody in. If they can keep Oregon, I would say they bring in San Diego State very, very, very quickly. That's their only chance at relevancy. But again, if they lose Oregon, all bets are off, man. Who wants to share half of a pie that's already burnt?
Right. I don't know. I almost feel like they were already teetering on G5 status as it was.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I do feel like the next one to go has got to be Arizona, right? I mean, it has to be Arizona, doesn't it?
Probably because the paperwork's technically maybe already backdoor done, just hadn't been signed. Like that, maybe not literally, but figuratively for sure. We know that Arizona has had this conversation. We know that Arizona has already gone to the Big 12 with interest. We know all that. So you would think logically, kind of like the UConn thing. UConn's probably done with the paperwork, waiting on a signature to dry type of deal. So yeah, I would assume Arizona for sure. And then everybody else.
So, and then you really have to look at it. I mean, you know, if you're going to backfill 4 teams to get to 12, even you're going to be backfilling with non-Power 5 schools. How in the world can you be anything but a G5? Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not right. I mean, you're not wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. I feel like if Arizona goes, I know a lot of people are acting like that they wouldn't get both of them. I think that you would. I think that they're in lockstep with each other. If you're listening to Jason Shear, they are in lockstep with each other. They may not be talking like that in the media because of the fact that you obviously had Arizona State somehow become AAU members in the last month or so, which is a joke to me. But that being said, and none of that matters anyways, but that was something that they made it like it was a big thing. And I'm not even hating on ASU. I think that ASU is a good school. I mean, you know, I know people that have went to that school. What I think is that was a ploy by the Pac-12 and by the Big Ten to kind of keep the power there in the Pac. I think it's been clear that the Big Ten has felt kind of bad for what they, knowing that the blood is on their hands, right? I mean, you got to feel that way, right?
Canzano again talked about SMU paying their way in. Well, that would be a stupid move.
What an idiotic
Pac-12.
move, yeah.
Like you are not in a position to be making people pay extra. You're not in that spot. Sorry.
No, and Yeah, and especially after the shit you just pulled with SDSU, had them had them saying that they were going to leave, and then all of a sudden you didn't give them an offer. I don't know if I'm any school, I'm running from the pack right now. Especially, you know, I gots to go.
Atta baby, Greg. Yeah,
Yeah, I gots to go. What
it's
a great
AZ
thing.
and UConn, and then there's a battle. There's a battle.
Them or UConn?
Them or UConn.
Oregon, Washington may jump after that because the Pac-12 couldn't get a deal before. How will they now? And I think that is an absolutely great point right there.
Bro, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, and UConn, that's a W. That's a W.
And you hear, I
That's
mean,
a W.
if you're listening to what was said anyway, the reason that Colorado finally made the jump was because after they had pushed it back, this, you know, deal, and we're going to find out about a deal. They apparently had one ready, but they didn't want to announce it. If you're listening to Kliavkoff and his BS at the freaking media day. And yet they didn't have one. It was a lie to everybody. It's just like everything else. But he had to tell the presidents of the schools the truth. And that finally played the hand of CU, which I think at some point, I mean, they couldn't show that they had a deal, even if they did, because it was never going to match up. And then he knew everybody was going to jump. So he could continue kicking that can down the road as far as he could. But when he told him that he didn't have one, there you go, right?
Greg,
President Robbins is on vacation in London. Yeah, I think they have phones that'll get a hold of him and he'll make that decision there. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that there, Kenny. But that being said, I do feel like, you know, the clock until 8-1, but on the clock until 8-1. Okay, well, we're going to find out. We're definitely going to find out. I don't think that SMU, he says SMU isn't going anywhere. I wouldn't. If I was Gen Z, I wouldn't. Because are you really moving? Are you really becoming a better? Well, maybe they do, because if you go to the Pac and it merges with the Mountain West, that's still a better league than the American at this point, right?
The Pac?
Yes. If it was merged with the Mountain West, it's still a better league than the American.
Yeah.
So I could see that if you could do that. Yeah. Hey, you could absolutely come on the show sometime. Absolutely. Anytime, man. You are another one of our subscribers. He is one of our All-American subscribers, so we appreciate that, Lemon. And yeah, we'll get you on here coming up pretty soon, and we'll definitely get you into a planning session either way. So we want to do some of that for some of you guys. Make sure, again, hey, become a channel member. Get in there, find out some of the things that we know before the rest of the world knows it. You know, we're going to have some exclusive members-only content that will be coming out here over the next few weeks and months. I'm going to start writing a lot, doing some columns and things like that. I probably will keep that members only all the time. So that's something that we'll kind of talk about a little bit. But listen, I enjoy the fact, any of you guys that want to come on, you know, or we're going to have some call-in shows that are members only call-in shows as well. So that might be the place that we could kind of bring some of you guys in as well. You know, we definitely want to do some of that. You got to get going here pretty soon, Cody.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, as you can see, you know, I'm hibernating in my bat cave, so I got to go find a way to pay my light bill. So the street corner's looking mighty good right now, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. Gosh. I can't reach the light, but it is what it is.
I was like, what? Wait, why? How are you even on still?
No, but getting my hookering skills back up and running sounded like a good plug. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, listen, you know, you don't, but you can only show a little bit of leg, right?
Well, the metal leg, I can show all of that, baby. I can show all of that one.
Hey, it's titanium, bruh. Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And I don't even have the spring blade, so I can't run away. You know, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it.
Yeah, I really don't think that. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Sooner in Texas. We'll talk about it in just a second. Cody, I will let you go ahead and get out of here. I know that you got some stuff going on, but I appreciate you coming on. And if you'd like to be on again tomorrow, we're gonna have Fitz on, and also the guy from Talking Buffs, David. So I think it'd be a good time for you to come on as well. Swaim, if you want to jump in tomorrow, let me know. we'll talk to you about that as well. But hey,
well, hey
tell
man,
everybody
what
how
we
to
need,
find
we
you.
need to,
Tell everybody
we
how
need
to
to,
find you real quick.
we need to find a way to put together like a Big 12 Anon Board of Regents member flag or something. I'll throw that in the background. It'll be good to go there. Yeah, guys, I'm super easy to find. I'm not the most technologically advanced individual in the world, so I don't mess with all the Insta, ticky-tacky crap fest. I have a Facebook. It's O State All Day. Clearly, Twitter, All Day O State, right? And yeah, go check the show out. We're almost at 1,000 subs, and here we are in month 10, and I really like how things are going.
You're
And,
killing it,
yeah,
man.
man.
How close are you to 1,000? Did you get there yet? You're not quite there, right?
I'm at like 926 or something, 930, something like that.
All right. Everybody,
Hey,
if you
we're
haven't
going.
already
We're
become a
going.
member of Locked On Oklahoma State, do get over there and do that. We've been trying to get him to 1,000 for a while now, and he works his tail off every day. This guy,
I feel like it's gonna go up because for all of the Tony Altamore fans out there, for all the John Gonzalo fans out there, if you really want to get some information without having some bullcrap stuff down your face, you need to come subscribe any daggone ways and make sure you like this. The Jason Watkins does great stuff. I'm honored to be able to come on, have some fun with your brother, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you so much as well, brother. We will talk to you soon, and I'll get a hold of you tomorrow and send you over a link as well, brother. Have a good one.
All right, buddy.
All right.
God bless. Go Pokes. Later. Appreciate you. Bye, bud.
Later. Okie Light Cody Stovall, Locked On Oklahoma State. We do appreciate having him on the show. I know a lot of you guys give him a hard time. We love him either way. And what a beard the guy's got, right? What a beard. That is something. Yeah. And Swain, thanks a lot again for all your information. We appreciate all that as well coming in. Let me get to some of these comments here. Arizona has first pick. I like hearing that. I think that they, if you're really trying to do basketball, right? I think that needs to be the one. I think that needs to be the one because they are a true basketball blue blood. It only makes sense to do that. Now, if you can add Oregon, maybe that changes a bit, but I don't think it would be one or the other on that. And I do feel like Arizona is probably the next one to make that jump. So either way, Pac-12 survives, not as a P5. You're right, Sooner in Texas. I agree with that. Yeah, no, it's a G5 without Utah, Oregon, ASU, UA, and Washington. Well, it's for sure. But I'm saying I think it already is kind of becoming that way. But yeah, I understand what you're saying on this one, Kenny. I do think that he'll pick up the phone. I do think he'll pick up the phone. Canzano again today talked about SMU paying their way in. What a knucklehead, right? Canzano, you can't believe anything that this guy's talking about. You can't. Him and again, we've talked about this about Jim Williams and saying that, I flat asked him, what happens to some of these folks' credibility? He said it goes in the trash. And that's a shame when you're talking about Canzano and Wilner because they've built that credibility up over 30 years. But the problem, what's really shameful to me was the fact that they were trying to hurt other people in that regard, right? Seth, hold on a minute. We have a new member. Thanks so much. We appreciate that, guys, becoming members to the show. That's such a big deal for us. Such a big deal. All right. Yeah, Greg, I think you're kind of right there. If Yormark wants UConn, he's deserved to make that call. Agreed. I guess, yeah. I don't think it's the right move necessarily. I get where the Big 12 is trying to kind of be nationwide. And that is a different scenario than what you're seeing like from the SEC. I just think that there's better candidates there myself. But I mean, I don't make decisions for the Big 12. And so I understand that. And in view of the fact that Brett Yormark has pulled this conference out of what was surely the end, yeah, I think you're probably right. If he decides that's what he wants to do, I don't blame him. We are now 13 and on. Yes, 13 and on. That's funny. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Okay. Big 12 will be okay with basketball in Kansas Tech and Baylor. Yeah. And don't forget, they just added Houston as well. You know, there was a time that CU was, I mean, you know, they had Chauncey Billups there before they had left. So, you know, they were starting to get some decent recruits and some things like that as well. If you take a look at what I saw from, there was actually, now, of course, this is behind the paywall, but if you look at, where was it? It was Barry Trammell had a column today that was pretty awesome, talking about kind of what led to all this instability in the pack. You should go check all that out. Yeah, thanks a lot for, again, Seth, on that, for becoming a member. Take care, Cody. I'm glad everybody was being nice to him. Let's see. Got to ask a question at the Big 12 Media Day. Yeah, I asked a few questions at Big 12 Media Days. I did. Yeah, me and Coach both. Coach was actually a rock star out there, though. That was a blast, right? Genuine question to ask. Would David Stone still commit to OU if Tebow was still the head coach? Probably not. Probably not. I don't know, though. I mean, I guess maybe I think it's about more than that, but I think that I don't know that Lincoln would have ever made the push to get as defensive minded as what you're seeing with the defensive minded head coach in BV. So probably not. Thanks a lot. Hey, appreciate that, Greg. Great show. Thank you. Laura, basketball will be a bloodbath in conference. Man, won't it? Won't it? It's such a great conference already. I mean, in even the schools that they hadn't really, you know, Oklahoma State's always been a big time school when it comes to basketball. You go back to Eddie Sutton. They've struggled the past couple of years of getting in. I know they kind of felt like they had a reason to be in this past season. I don't necessarily disagree. You know, Oklahoma fell on hard times a bit this season, but I think they are headed in the right direction. They're doing some good recruiting. K-State, with their new coach, holy crap, they're the real deal. Kansas has always been the real deal. Baylor's won a national championship recently. Texas Tech, Laura, has been in the Final Four and in the championship game. They were that far away from winning the whole thing. And I got to tell you, McCaslin Grant, great hire. Great hire. Actually, he was the head coach at Midland College whenever I was at that newspaper there, the Midland Reporter Telegram. He's been around. The dude, if you listen to Oscar Leroy, he's a genius, right? And Oscar is now the sports editor there in Midland. Shout out to him. Talk to him about what you think. I think that you've upgraded tremendously at head coach in basketball. So big deal. Big deal. Yeah, JC Lamb, not no, but hell no. What are we talking? Oh, yeah, I'm doubting it. Yeah, I think you're right, Kim. Do you like the new name and the profile pic? Yes, it's awesome, man. The profile pic is awesome, man. And Lemon, you're the man either way. Either way. We liked it before. We like it now. I know he's okay native, but I know Tebow doesn't like defense. Yeah, I just don't think that he was ever going to really make that push on his own, right? Look, as much as I love Mike Leach, Mike never really was ever going to worry too much about the defensive side of the ball, right? And I believe that has trickled down to the guys that are in his tree. None of them have won a national championship yet as head coaches. I feel like Riley's little brother has the best chance to. We've talked about this on the show recently. I think that Garrett has an opportunity to do it this year, but because of the fact that Clemson may have the best defense in the country. If it's not Georgia, it's them. So I feel like, you know, and I don't care what Uncle Lou said about that. I feel like Clemson does have that opportunity this year, right? Don't like basketball, Lori says. Why not? Just I love a little hoop, but we're definitely a college football show. CU is back in Texas recruiting. That's huge for them. And I think a good question to ask, great point there, Hank. And I think a good question to ask, considering that, was how much influence did Coach Prime have on making that jump? And I don't think that you could discount it because of the fact that he's able to sell Texas kids now on, we're going to play two games at minimum every year in Texas so you can come and see your kids. I think that that's definitely what happened to CU going to the Pac, that they kind of lost their pipeline the same way we talked about with Nebraska, that they lost their pipeline in Texas. And when you do that, you know, that's what you need. And this is the other reason I've always thought that Utah is crazy to be acting the way that they are and not wanting to be in the Big 12, because of the fact that Coach Witt has somehow worked himself into a pipeline into that Dallas area. And he's been successful. But how much more successful would Utah be with them always playing games in Texas? I think it's very short-sighted by the University of Utah. Very short-sighted that they've been acting this way. And everybody who's been acting this way. I understand being loyal to the conference that you're in and the conference that made you a Power 5 school. There's a line between loyal and ludicrous, and you pole vaulted the sucker, right? Period. That's all there is to it. Let's keep in mind the Big 12 bullet points for expansion. Quite frankly, some Pac schools don't quite fit. I think you're right. Yeah, and I think that there's some that would never even attempt it, right? And I don't know that Utah hasn't talked themselves out of an invite. I don't. Let's see. Laura, Tech is getting good stuff. Absolutely. Great stuff. You don't want to talk about what? Oh, yeah. I get it. Yeah, the Final Four game. Yeah, I get it. The biggest genius of all, Brett Yormark. I think he's done a fabulous job, man. He took a situation that it hadn't been good for two commissioners, right? It had started to fall apart. It was teetering on the edge of disaster forever, and now it looks like, I mean, he's thinking way outside the box, man. So. Made something sent to Discord. Did you see it, Jason? I hadn't seen it today, man. I've been getting ready for the show, and I had some other stuff to do. I'll be on Discord here after this, though. Yormark is a grow person and won't be stagnant. I think you're absolutely correct. We had a losing record when Mahomes was at Tech because of our defense sucking. Absolutely. That's why I've always said that. I mean, you had Mahomes and you had Baker, who won as a freshman his first 6 games starting, right? And then they never could get past that point because of the fact that you got into Big 12 play and you needed to stop somebody every once in a while. And it was pretty criminal the way Cliff, I know everybody loves Cliff in Lubbock. He hurt that team. He did. He hurt that team. Let's see. Dion even said it was a game changer. I think it is. And so I would say that Dion was definitely, he had a lot of influence there, right? Yeah. Look, he thinks outside of the box with ways to generate revenue, and which is why basketball is important, right? It's why basketball is important to this conference. They have to find some ways to do that. I don't know that the whole Mexico thing, and maybe I love the Rucker Park thing. I think that's pretty awesome. I like the combine, the conference-wide combine. I think that's smart as well. Kind of capitalizing on the quarterbacks that you have in the NFL to kind of, market around that for football. And because a lot of those guys, they didn't go to OU or Texas. You have a couple that did, but mostly OU, not Texas. But I think that it was smart of him to do that. I think that a lot of the stuff that he's done has been really, really smart. I saw that. His commitment day, and remind everybody what that is, Lemon. I want to say, is it the 26th? Maybe, can't remember. But again, Yormark, you had to do that. You really did for this conference to. I mean, it literally was on his deathbed. I think that the biggest thing that he did this whole time was jumping ahead. Once the Pac-12 let their exclusive window to negotiate with ESPN and Fox go away, and he jumped ahead of schedule to redo the Big 12's deal, that was the biggest move you could have done. If you hear what he said at the Super Bowl, he was saying, look, we knew that there was only so much room in linear television or even cable linear, however you want to put it. And I think that where a lot of people were talking about money during all this time, there's a lot of, again, this disinformation stuff has been weird because I don't know that it was as much. I think money plays a part. But if you can deal with a discrepancy in money if you still have exposure. If you don't have exposure and you don't have money, which you are never going to get the same money as the SEC or the Big Ten. So, you know, why would you even possibly chance that? Which is what the Pac-12, it was the last mistake that Kliavkoff made. And I think that's been clear over the last year that they hadn't been able to get that done. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I think they have their hands full now because of the fact of having Joey McGuire. You know, again, I've said this a bunch that I think that Joey McGuire and Texas Tech is a pain in the ass for the rest of the league. I think it's going to be that because of the fact that he was the president of the High School Coaches Association in Texas. That's a huge, it's like being the head coach at Texas. It really is. And so he's been able to get some recruits that you wouldn't have got. Again, I agree with you on Prime. I think that he's beloved in the city of Dallas. He coached there in high school. You know, he played there for the Cowboys. Who doesn't want to play for Coach Prime? I think a lot of people do. So, yeah, I think it's a problem, man. And anybody who thinks that he's just going to fall flat on his face, I think you're sadly mistaken when it comes to that. I really do. Let's see. Yeah, 26. Okay, good. Yeah. How long do all these beasts on the A&M D line stay? That's a good question, Seth. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to depend on whether or not Jimbo and his new offensive coordinator can coexist. Petrino. I tend to doubt they can because I don't think that there's any way in hell that Jimbo Fisher wants to not be considered the offensive genius anymore. And he doesn't, he still thinks that he is, but even though nobody really thinks that way. I do feel like they're going to struggle there. And so, yeah, I could see it happening. Well, and you saw at the end of last season, you know, a 5-win team. I will say this. With the roster that they have, if he does let Petrino do his job, they could be dangerous. They're a dark horse team in the SEC right now, right? Kind of a crazy deal. Drew, what's up, buddy? What's up, buddy? Yeah, add Dion to that combine situation. The cameras will follow in record fashion. No, you're not wrong, man. Not wrong. What's up, brother? How you been? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, where you been? Where you been? Let's see. Why is Cody and the Big 12 in a hurry to bring UConn into the league? Yeah, I think because it brings basketball. And I think that at the moment right now, even though you've got Colorado coming, unless you get Oregon, Washington, some of these, well, I wouldn't call Oregon a blue blood for sure, but they're definitely very popular brand in the country and amongst recruits. So with it, if you don't get those schools and you don't get Utah, I mean, are you really still, I mean, you better be doing something and making sure you remain the best conference. So I could see doing that. I still think it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction. My opinion on UConn is this. Yeah, they won the national championship, but they did that 10 years ago, and then they became irrelevant even in basketball for a good long time until the last few years when Hurley became head coach there, right? They hadn't done anything. So I struggle with it. I struggle with it. David Hicks transfer. I could see it. I could see it, JC. I could see it. Prime isn't proven. These other coaches are. He needs to show it on the field. Well, no shit. Of course. We know that, Drew. I mean, I agree with you. I'm not, but I'm telling you, if you think that he's not, here's the thing. He's got a ton of head coaches, a ton of guys on that staff that have all been head coaches, and they all have a ton of experience. All he really has to, he doesn't have to coach a freaking down. He doesn't. All he has to do is make sure that he continues to land players. And how do you lose? I mean, to me, it's the same thing. I mean, you're able to recruit the #1 player in the country to Jackson State, then that tells you what he's going to be able to do as the head coach at Colorado. Is it the same? No. But you're still going to continue to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. Sean Lewis has been a head coach at a Power 5. No, but you're going to tell me that as an offensive guy yourself, you're going to tell me that's not one of the best offensive minds in the country, Drew? Because I believe that it is. And they got a quarterback, man. Got a quarterback. I know a lot of people don't want to give that to Shedeur yet. If you watch and you see, I mean, you are a coach, you look at him and see what he's about, right? His skill set says he can play at this level. And if you can do that, yeah, he's got to develop. He's got to develop. They do. Can we bring JSU to the Big 12? Probably not. Not now. If Prime would have been there, no. But in the end, like I said, yes, he's got to prove it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that. He's got to prove it. But again, he's got championship, or Zimmer was a head coach, and he's got Zimmer there as just as an analyst. But I mean, that was a head coach at the professional level, defensive coordinator on the last Cowboys team to win a championship, which was a long damn time ago. But I mean, and he was able to keep him from going with Sean Payton to the Broncos, which was surprising to me, right? It was surprising to me. Shedeur isn't proven. I think he's proven at the if you want to hear people argue about it. Yeah, I think he's proven something. I do feel like they want to see him do it at Division I level instead of at FCS. I get it, right? Dion is the catalyst for the recruiting. He's the draw, but his staff is experienced. This is exactly what I'm saying, Kim. Thank you. I'm aware of that. Again, he turned over basically the entire roster. I think there's 11 guys that are left from the 1-11 year from a year ago. I mean, when you flip it around that much, there can be I think that my feeling is they win a minimum, and because I don't think that the pack is that great anyway. I think that it's fairly top heavy. Well, I think that there's half and half. They're half and half right now. But I do think that they're going to, I've already said this. I think SC's going 8-4, 9-3 at best. I do, because they're not going to stop anybody. If you can do anything close to what they're doing offensively there, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Shedeur is Caleb Williams. I'm not. But if they can be pretty good on offense, that defense at SC is going to continue to suffer. We both know that. So I could see that happening, right? And I do believe that he can coach, man. And I do believe he can coach. I think you're right there. Purdue. Why? They're not going anywhere. They're not going. They're in the Big Ten. Why would they leave? They're getting $100 million. Yeah, I'm not going to continue arguing about this, guys. We're going to find out. That's all I got to say. I believe that he's going to do a lot better than a lot of the haters out there. And there are the haters out there, and I get it, but I'm just going to tell you, I think that he's better than that. I do. So I think that what's going to happen is that they're going to do pretty well. I really do. We're going to find out, though. Travis Hunter was the number 1 recruit, but I'm not going to keep doing that. So we're going to move on. Yeah, I wouldn't either. All right, let's move on. How long until the ACC implodes? You know what? As we were talking about a little bit earlier, Seth, to me, I don't think it's coming real soon, because I think that grant of rights, which you have to actually go to Greensboro, North Carolina to even look at, and every school in the conference has been there over the spring, and every one of them left there basically understanding that there was nothing they could really do. Now, if they were able to get that majority vote of the schools that are voting on it, right, to dissolve the conference, that may be a window, right? That may be a window. From what I understand, though, on that, and I can make it makes sense to me. The ESPN is not just going to let it go away. Then you're going to have to deal with a lawsuit, right? No university president wants to deal with that, and it would be a huge lawsuit. For the reason is the buyout at the moment would be upwards of $700 million per school. So how much would ESPN be like, screw that? And they have it on a great deal. So they're not just going to let go of it, particularly when they're struggling right now financially themselves as a network, right? They just had to lay off all those guys. I just feel like it's one of those things. All right. What are we talking about here? We're still talking about this stuff. Nope. I don't. I think that if he goes anywhere, it'd be Florida State. I do. And I know not everybody agrees with me on that, but I think that that's the only way that he leaves is if he went to Florida State. Maybe Alabama. But again, to get the Alabama job, he would have to kill it, right? He would have to kill it. Yeah, I don't. What did Laura say? Get Stone and Winery on the show? That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I'll definitely try. And again, that's a great segue. Thank you very much, Lori. Tomorrow we will have our buddy Nigel Smith II on the show. He's going to join us a little bit, talk about, I believe he was there at the party today or last night. So I'm going to make sure on that, but I'm pretty sure he will definitely be here. It'd be great to get those other guys on the show. We're welcome. Any Sooner or potential Sooner is welcome to be on this show at any time. With Nigel, I'm hoping that I've been saying this and I believe that he's a lock, but I'm not going to beat him to death over giving me a decision. We're going to talk about some other stuff and some of the stuff with that. That's some of the stuff I'm working on for tonight. But I'm excited about that. Are you busting my chops, Drew? Are you busting my chops? I said he would have to kill it, right? Are you busting my chops, bro? Killing me. Affleck strikes again. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying he's going to get the job. I think that he may stay at Colorado, though. I know I'm kind of in the minority there. If they are able to do good things, I think it's an easier way to get to the playoff through the Big 12 than it is going to be through the SEC or even possibly the ACC. Well, and if you believe that Florida State's going to end up in the SEC, then you're going to be there either way. I think it gets harder. I think it just got harder, and it'll even get harder if they continue to expand. If you listen to the SEC, they don't plan to expand out of their geographic footprint. That's what Greg Sankey's continued to say. I know that things change, but I don't know. You kind of have to wait and see, right? Let's get BV on the show. Yeah, let's. Help me out with that. Help me out with that, Drew. Flag strikes again. Start a petition. We may just have to get Coach on the phone with him. It may help. He had a good little conversation with the coach there at Media Days. He remembered him from when he was recruiting Stephen Coleman. So, the coach is a rock star, man. He's a rock star. I love having him on the team. But, yeah, maybe we can get him in at some point. You never know. We're going to have to continue growing, I think, to really get a lot of love from OU, and that's fine. We'll do that. We'll continue working at it. Let's see. Getting a bunch of stuff here. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate everybody that's on Twitter promoting the show as well. That's awesome, right? Let's get Nick Saban on the line. Drew. All right. I'll tell you what. When's the next time you can come on the show and we can have this little chat instead of you chirping at me from my freaking comment section? Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. That's how you do it. You want to talk smack, super chat it. You know, sheesh. That power line photo needs to be completed. It's coming, man. It's coming. Yeah, and that's what I would tell you. I know a lot of people are a little worried about Williams-Winery going to Oregon this weekend. I'm not. I think that if you know Nigerian families, they're very thorough, right? And I've got a good friend of mine that's Nigerian. Her family is that very way. She's that way. Really cool. But I got to tell you that I think that then that's what BV wants, right? Is for them to have all been very thorough in their recruiting and to go everywhere, to go and give a look everywhere so that you don't have any doubt in your mind where you want to be. Because if you do, then it makes it easy for you to transfer later, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Nick Saban would not come on the show with me. I've been less than nice about Nick a little bit, right? I think he's the best, but I think that he's also very paranoid, and I've been pretty loud about that. Yeah. Explosion waiting to happen. The longer the wait, the bigger the explosion. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. The thing is, again, if you have, I mean, look, if you're ESPN and you can get upwards of, because if you figure that you could get two schools into the playoff, maybe the champion and the runner-up, right? Because of them going away from divisions in the ACC, which is a smart move on their part. So rather than getting, Wake with 3 losses against Clemson, because they're in, or whatever, let's say that in that title game, if you had a FSU with 1 loss or a Miami with 1 loss and Clemson that's undefeated, whatever, and that they in conference, they get to play, that could put both of them in there if the undefeated team were to lose, right? Same thing with the Big 12. So I feel like if you're ESPN, why would you do that? Because you get more money out of having them in the CFP. You're going to have more teams in the CFP if you have more conferences. Either way, right? Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that's got to happen in order for that to go down, right? I feel like that's going to be tough. Drew, me, it's me. Yeah. I was talking to Drew about him talking smack, but yeah, I know you'll be on the show. We're going to have a call-in show coming up real quick, guys. Okay. Next one to get Saban is the Worms. Baker's the legend. Ooh. I'm not. You love Baker. Are you sure, Drew? Photos look like a mid-2000s blinged out Cadillac. That's Hayes or Haas. That's how they roll. Hayes Fawcett. Are you sure about that, Drew? You headed out, man? Thanks for coming in, Kenny. We appreciate it, buddy. Right? Okie Light fans acting like Sanders was good. Like, come on, man. What? Get Tebow on the show and ask him what he did. Okay. That one almost surely would not happen. But we could dream. I'd know better than that. He would not. No way. He blocked me without me ever adding him on Twitter. I never used the @ symbol in his name, not one freaking time on Twitter, and I got blocked. So yeah, that ain't happening. What up there, JJ? What are you aiming? What are you aiming, bud? The most important thing that happened while Tebow was coach was planting the damn flag. No doubt. Thank you, Baker Mayfield. That was pretty awesome, right? Cool. All right. Hank says, get Tony Altimore on the show. Yeah, I've tried that, Wampus. I really have. Tony Altimore is weak sauce. Will not do so. He will not. Pretty funny stuff, though. Pretty funny stuff. Guys, thanks so much for coming into the show. Again, we appreciate everybody who's become a channel member. If you have not already become a channel member, remember that we will have lots of members only content coming up in the future, members only call-in shows versus, you know, and stuff. And then you obviously get into the Discord, our members only Discord, just by becoming a member of the show as well. Pretty awesome to be able to do that. I plan on being very active in there. I'm still kind of learning my way around Discord. I'm not going to lie to you, but I am working on it. So one of the things that we've done a lot of to do that is, you know, I've worked a little bit with Cody, the professor, along with High Top, his High Top Sports, Shelton, the host of that show. I appreciate their help in a lot of that kind of stuff as well, along with Jay from Unfair Sports. You know, he's helped me with it as well. So I'd love to see a lot of you guys do that and jump into that Discord as well with us. Even you, Drew, ball buster. No, hey, everybody give Drew some love, man. He's got a new position there in Norman at the Catholic school there. He's the head running backs coach, and you know, looking to do some big things there in Norman. He's going to be around the area, so excited for him on that new job, man. Yeah, I'd love to get Lincoln on the show. It'd be fun. I haven't been back there yet. I haven't been back there in a while. It's been a little while, but it won't be too long, I'm sure. Yeah, everybody loves Drew, man. Good night. Hey, thank you so much for coming in, Kim, as well. I'm going to be heading out as well, guys. We don't forget tomorrow, Nigel Smith II, one of those 24K big targets for Oklahoma on that defensive line. I've said it a bunch. He's my favorite recruit in the country just because he plays a lot of sports and he's unbelievably explosive. I think he's a big addition. I feel like David Stone has always been the most important recruit for Oklahoma coming into this whole thing because of the fact that he is Oklahoma. He's from Oklahoma. But I think believing that him and Waneri are coming, I think that you needed to get a guy like Nigel as well. They love Nigel. So, you know, I think that being able to get that whole group of guys together and really kind of solidify this 24K class for Oklahoma was huge, right? So I'm excited to have him on the show. We're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do that. We still have 21 left in here. I appreciate everybody coming in as you did. You know, thank you again, Kim, for coming in as well. Yeah, Mount St. Mary's, great job for you there on that, Drew. And I'm glad that you're back closer to home and closer to be out there around the OU team as well, right? Yeah, do hit that like button. We'd appreciate that as much. What time again? 2 p.m. Eastern time. That would be 1 o'clock Central. We will have Nigel on there. Following Nigel on the show will be Tim Fitzgerald from Go Power Cat as well. He's got a pretty amazing idea that he had talked about a little bit that he could see possibly happening, I guess, in the Big 12. I don't want to ruin that, but that's why I'm having him on the show. We will also have David from Talking CU Football or Talking Buffs with David, something like that. I'll make sure to put that in the description here. Make sure you guys show back up here, though, 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, right here on Hall of Fame College Football, 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's 1 p.m. Central as well. So, again, thanks so much, everybody. Let me see. Let me get I'm gonna let everybody kind of say goodbye too. I appreciate everybody being here. So real quick. Oh man. Oh, there it is. The old Norman Kim. Come here, Normie. Come here. There's old Norman there. Everybody say goodnight to Norman as well. Again, appreciate you guys coming on the show, and we will see you guys on the next one. Yeah, absolutely. Come on whenever you'd like to, buddy. We'll see you soon.